So, I mean, I know a lot of you know me from before, but I just wanted to ask how many of you Googled my name before this talk? And did you see what came up? And I'm not saying this for my ego, but this is how you need to behave now when you're in this online environment and you're trying to find jobs, you're trying to research people. If you know who you're talking to or who you're listening to, Google their name and find out about them before. Okay, so that's the first top tip from today's talk. There's a futurist called Gert Leonhard, and he's a futurist from Austria. And he said that humanity is going to change over this next 20-year period more than it has in the last 300 years. So that is incredible for me. Because if you think about it, we've got, like before COVID and climate change became a big issue, we had augmented reality, we had artificial intelligence, we had virtual reality, we've now got metaverse. So all of these things were coming anyway. And I think what's happened is the post-COVID, along with climate change, is just going to fast track all of these changes in a way like when I think Gert was talking about the next 20 years, he wasn't foreseeing the fast rate of climate change that was going to happen and also COVID. Okay, so these are two things that I think are going to change, not just work, which is what we're talking about today, but I think the way people are educated, your diet. That's one thing that has fascinated me, that during COVID, no one is talking about our diet. Let's cut out fast food, let's start eating healthier and make our immune system stronger. We're not having that conversation, which I think post-COVID will come into play more. Health, your wellness. People at work now don't want to just work like a mad dog to make money. They're now reevaluating what's important to them. Okay, so post-COVID, we're now talking about Zoom, we're talking about online working from home, we're talking about in-job interviews happening on Zoom. So all of this now, because Zoom calls and online and work from home was happening 10 years ago. If any of you follow Simon Sinek, his company was doing this remote kind of company coming together. They were all remote. And all that COVID has done for mainstream business is fast track this whole process. So if we're talking about interviews, recruitments, working from home, all these changes are going to happen because companies are realizing now they don't need to have someone sat inside their company 9 to 5 with social security costs, everything. Is you can outsource the work or have them on subcontract per basis. Okay, and they've done studies that are showing that the gig community, so those that are self-employed, are going to outnumber those that have fixed contracts in the workplace. So that's amazing. I think in the next few years, it's going to overtake. So I would have never predicted that it would have gone so far to the gig work community. I just want to quickly say because I came from an environment of working 9 to 5. I was the marketing manager of a hotel. I was working extra hours. I was under a lot of stress. I was getting paid really well. I got fired with 2 days notice, and I got kind of asked to leave through the back door quietly and just go on my way. And I started reevaluating my self-worth and what was important to me. And I started seeing a life coach, and I was explaining that I don't want to keep working for rich people making more money, and I wanted to move more into sustainability. I'd started a project just as a website and social media called Canary Green. I'd started that 8 years before. And then with discussions with my life coach, I suddenly realized that I can move into making Canary Green nonprofit and having volunteers work for it and make it into an enterprise that can help fund me and I can work in it. And so for the last 4 years, I changed from working 9 to 5 to working in the sustainable tourism sector. And today I'm going to go through just a little points that I went through personally, and that I think will really help you find a job. And as I was saying to John before, is that the principles of what we're talking about today are the same for any industry. So although I'm trying to use the example of sustainable tourism today, we can talk about this can apply for any sector. Okay. So a lot of people don't like talking about personal branding, because we're going to start with personal branding. And basically today I'm going to talk about your personal brand, but let's not say personal brand, let's say reputation, your reputation online. So if I Google your name, what comes up? I've not met you yet. I can see you in the search engines. I'm clicking on different links that are coming up. What do I think of you? That's your reputation online. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what are you publishing on your content, on these links that are coming up. What are you publishing up there to control it? And then how to network. So this is what we're going to talk about today, how to network within the industry that you want to work in. Okay, so if it's sustainable tourism, we're going to talk about how do you connect with leading players, leading industry brands that you can connect with proactively, not just relying for a notice of a job, but proactively going out there and networking. And the third point I'm going to talk about today is how to stay, because the world is changing so much at the moment, is how to stay in this constant state of learning, how to be different and how to stand out. Okay, so I hope everyone's got this, everyone's with me. The new world we're going into, a lot of people are looking at jobs in sustainability, like they want to be involved in community, in wellness, in responsibility, in contributing something bigger than ourselves and just the profits of companies. Now, I truly hope, because I honestly believe we have to change the way we purchase, the way we work, the way we employ people, the way we're using plastic, our CO2 emissions. Everything has to be looked at in our lifestyles in order to make sustainable change. And I'm hoping it's starting with talking with people like you, that even if you're working within a company now and they're launching a sustainability department and you want to work in that, you can use the principles of what I'm talking about today to move into that sector, that department. Okay. But the main thing for sure, if we're talking about sustainability and these changes that are happening now with digital, with climate change, with COVID, this is not a fad. We're not going to suddenly go back to, oh, we're not doing job interviews via Zoom, because people are realizing that they can do that. So everything needs to head towards this change. Often regarding sustainability and climate change, I'm often saying that people are saying, oh, there's someone on the corner having a smoke. No, the house is on fire. And I don't know how many of you have looked at the video, the new film that came out, Don't Look Up. And obviously that's a parody of climate change. We need to take this seriously and to have all of our efforts moving into this sector. Everyone's got a responsibility to stand up and be counted in this. Okay, so we're going to start with personal branding or your reputation. And the first thing, I think this is the most important, if you take one thing away from this here, is your personal brand. So what comes up in the search engines, when everyone's got a personal brand, whether you like it or not. If I search your name now and nothing comes up, that tells me something about you anyway. If I search and something comes up and I click on different links and I see different things, that tells me a lot about you. So I want you to think about your brand, not for your next job, but to think about your brand for your whole career. And I want you to think about your reputation and your personal brand, like your morals, your personality, your values are going to be with you for your whole career. Okay, so let's not think about just the next job you're getting, but let's think about your personal brand and your networking and everything we're going to talk about today for your whole career. If that makes sense to everyone. There's a new study that's come out saying that people are going to change their jobs on average every 7 years. Okay, so often I joke with people coming to work with me in Canary Green, you're not going to die with us, you're going to move on to another thing. So don't just keep thinking about, I'm with Canary Green, I'm working in this sector. Think about your personal brand, because you're going to, in 7 years, change. And either you're starting your own business or you're trying to get a job, whatever it is, your reputation online, you have to keep working on all the time. Okay, so that's probably the most important takeaway from today's talk, is to talk like that, to think like that about your reputation online. Now, when I was the marketing manager in Lanzarote for a big hotel, I had to employ an assistant to work with me in marketing. So I advertised on LinkedIn and on Facebook, and I gave an email address, and literally I got hundreds and hundreds of CVs of people wanting to come and work with me. And to be honest, all I was doing was printing them out and putting them into a filing tray next to on my desk, and just thinking to myself, I've got to go through all these things to have a look. I quickly just flipped through each person. Now, when I'm looking through CVs like that, it's very hard to see the personality of the person that's there, because almost all of them had the skill sets that I needed. At this point, a friend, a colleague that worked with me, popped her head into my office and said to me, "John, did you see Maria's YouTube channel?" And I said, "Which one was Maria?" And then I had a look, and Maria was the lawyer, a lawyer, someone that's just finished studying law. And I said, "But I don't want a lawyer. I want an assistant in marketing." And she said, "But just have a look at her YouTube channel." So I looked at her YouTube channel, and she made these amazing videos of sports. Now, we were a sports hotel. And when I saw these videos, I said, "Wow, this is incredible." So then I Googled her name, and I found that she's done like 5,000 tweets, all about marketing, about everything that I needed, nothing about being a lawyer. And then I looked at her Flickr photos, I looked at her on Facebook, and I picked up the phone without even looking at the other CVs. I called her and I said, "Where are you? I'm coming to you. You've got the job." And she worked for me and eventually was headhunted for the brand manager for Lanzarote Tourism, the whole island. And all I'm trying to make the point to you guys is that she stood out from that batch of CVs. And that's what I'm saying to you today. Learn to stand out. Don't just leave it to fate. What's coming up in the search when I search your name? Control what comes up. So when I click on different links there, I'm formulating an opinion about you, that I trust you. I believe that I want you to work for me, or I want to invest in your company. Okay. I hope that makes sense to everyone. My daughter also, during COVID, we set up a mini website for her. We set up social media, exactly what I'm talking about today. We set up all these social media channels, and then I showed her how to go on Instagram and find digital marketing agencies that she could help with. So her skill set is making short TikTok videos. She did that for herself, but I told her she can go and do this for companies. So she on Instagram DM'd the director. There was 3 lady directors of this agency, and she said, "Hey, I was just looking at your profile. I love this. I'd love to work. Check out some of the videos I make." No CV involved. And she said, "Wow, Gabby, really cool. I want to have a Zoom call with you." And then she had a Zoom call with my daughter, and she got the job. And that company was not even taking interns to come and work for them, but they just loved her approach. They Googled her name, saying that an 18-year-old has got a website, got all these social media on LinkedIn, and she was still at school at the time. So it was really proactive of her, and she got the job, and she went to Amsterdam and worked for them. Okay. So if you need to decide what channels you want to work in, like for example, if you search John Dale Beckley, you'll see that I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Pinterest, I'm on all the channels. Okay. But you need to choose what channels I want to be in. So for business, I really like Twitter because it's your voice, your natural voice that you can have. And it's not about networking with friends. It's about your natural voice. And then make your voice be about where you want to work. Okay. Facebook and Instagram are more about your friends and your family connections and people that you want to follow, but it tells me a lot about what you publish. Okay. So if you make it open and I can see that you love to travel, that you have friendships are important to you, your family is important because they're in your photos, and you've traveled all these places, I trust you more, especially for sustainable tourism. If you've shown you volunteered for this project and I can see it's on your Instagram, that helps there. And then of course, LinkedIn is for businesses, and I want to see your proof, what you've studied, if you've been on leadership courses, what your interests are, if you have any recommendations, all of that you need to work on. Okay, so it doesn't just come naturally, your LinkedIn profile. You don't just get people sending you recommendations out of the blue. You've got to work on it, and give recommendations to colleagues you've worked in before and let them give you recommendations back. So when I look at your profile on LinkedIn, I'm going, wow, all these people really like working with you, and they've given you these recommendations. You have, for your skill sets, all these people have endorsed you. I don't have one line in your LinkedIn profile just telling me what you do. Tell me, write a whole thing about it. Put a video there explaining what your skill sets are and where you want to work out there. Okay, so if you see, you can put a video in your profile, and that really helps sell you when I'm searching. Okay, so your Facebook and your Instagram gives a personal touch, but your LinkedIn is that professional side. but all of them combined together that I feel I trust you and you would be a good fit for my company to employ you. I was doing a talk, there's a big sports hotel in Lanzarote called Club La Santa, and I did a talk to them. They've got a young team that teach tennis and fix bikes and do bike excursions. I think there was about 30 young people, so they're aged between 20 and 24. And the human resources person was stood next to me, and he said that we will not employ anyone here until we've extremely vetted you on your social media channels. And I know under European law, they wanted to ban that. But in reality, people are doing this. They're looking at you. And Club La Santa said, if you want to be a bike mechanic at our hotel, and I look at your Instagram and I see nothing about bikes in your Instagram feed, it doesn't give me confidence that I want to get you in, even for an interview. He said it disqualifies you for an interview. So these people that were preparing these paper CVs and sending it through, thinking that's how I'm applying for this job, you weren't even qualifying based on searches on your name. Okay, so Google your name now after this talk today and start thinking, how can I take control with different platforms? If you're active in LinkedIn and Twitter, these things naturally come up in the search engines. So you've just got to be active in them. Okay, and then I want to look at your profile and I want to see that you're an authority in what you're trying to work in. So publish articles on LinkedIn, publish content on LinkedIn, and be authentic, be honest, be trustworthy. So I'm very much against buying connections, putting something that you're not. Try and be as honest as you can and real as you can. And people are craving this authenticity at the moment. Okay, right. So we've spoken about your personal brand, your reputation online with social media when I search your name. The next thing I want to talk about is networking and connecting in the industry you want to work. So obviously we're talking about sustainable tourism. So once your profile is updated and you're getting indexed in the search engines, you want to be sharing relevant content on those networks. And then what you want to do is you want to start research. I don't want to say stalk, but you want to research the company. So if you really want to work for this one company, start at the lower level of the company and start connecting with them on LinkedIn, just for example. Those that connect with you, then go and find them, Google their name, see if they're on Instagram and connect with them. Okay, and build your way up to higher management, because higher management, if they see on LinkedIn that you're connected with 20 people from their company, they're more inclined to accept you as a connection. Okay, and if you don't know what company you want to work for, if it's more of an industry thing, then connect on the industry, connect on organizations or media that cover your industry, and find different personalities that are being spoken about or authorities in that sector and try and connect with them. Okay, the more niche down you make it, the more people they tend to accept you. Okay, so if you say, hey, I do marketing and that's what I am, obviously that doesn't cut it. Okay, you need to break it down to that I specialize in tourism marketing, in sustainability. So the head of the world travel market who's focused on sustainable tourism, and he sees your profile, he wants to connect with you because you directly what he is talking about, sustainable tourism and marketing. Okay. The next thing I just want to mention is that I honestly believe this. In the past, in marketing, we used to talk about business to consumer, business to business, and now it's all moved away from that, and now it's human to human. So everything in business now is becoming about human to human. So this is why I think this style that I'm talking about really counts. So even if you're in a company now and you're saying, I don't want to work in this company, I want to work in another company later, and I want to change. But if that company can see how you talk about your present company, it gives value and trust to the new job you're looking for. So what you want, it's called employee advocacy. It's basically how employees of a brand can talk to about their brand in their own social media. Okay, so I was talking to a hotel chain in South Africa, and they wanted to fire this girl because she took a selfie in front of the hotel reception without her uniform on. And I said to them, if I was in charge, she would get fired if she didn't do the selfie. So that's the difference, is you want to encourage your staff to be connected with your brand, to be talking, to be engaging around it, because now people connect with people, human to human. So the more you make yourself connected, let's say you're in a job now, is connect with people. And your brand actually appreciates that. Even though you might be doing it that you want to change your job or you want to get a new job, the next job, if they see how you talk within that brand, it adds value to you. Okay. I hope that makes sense to everyone. I hope I'm not speaking too fast. And just give me a message on WhatsApp if there's any changes. Okay. So just to sum up from this last section, learn how to use Google. Deep dive into companies, into the people that work there, and connect with them through your profiles on different platforms. And don't do it in a spammy way, but try and do it in an honest, real way where you can make real connections. Okay, and start bottom up in the industry or in a brand. Okay, right. We finished that. So we spoke about your personal brand and your reputation online and what you're publishing. Then we spoke about connecting and researching people in your industry and a brand you want to work in. The next part we're talking about, because we said that the world is changing so much now, we have to stop thinking about education as something like I get a degree and I wave my degree and I plug into a brand on the corporate ladder and I'll move my way up. It's not working like that now. You want to be in a constant state of learning. Okay. When I was at school, I went to boarding school in South Africa, and I had a picture. I mean, I was pre-internet, so I didn't grow up with the internet. And I had a picture of Mauritius on my wall. And people used to come into my room, and I said, when I finish school, that's where I'm going to go and live. I've actually ended up in the Canary Islands, which is very similar to Mauritius. So it was always my dream to live in the tropics like this. But my point to you guys is that I could only go to the library and open up a book that was printed 10 years before to really get the facts on Mauritius. You guys now today can really have everything at your fingertips. So you can learn. A lot of these companies, even if you want to go and learn for a certain brand, they're offering often, especially if it's LinkedIn or the big brands, they're offering free courses on how to learn their products. So you can start there if you're wanting to do it. If you have a job now, you could start learning inside a company like that with LinkedIn or with Google or Facebook. All of these brands now offer training courses around their brand. Okay, so let's not think about education and a degree. Let's start thinking about smaller courses and being in this constant state of learning. I love, I don't know if any of you know Seth Godin. He's got something called the Alt MBA. And basically it's a crash course on marketing, but it's relevant, it's now, it's real time, and it's only 6 weeks long, and it costs $3,000 as opposed to $20,000. So you're getting honest, practical education, real time, and I think that's the difference. We have to stop looking at I'm in this hamster wheel of society now that we've always done it like that. You have to be able to break the rules, break the norm, and be different. So that's the same with education. To be in a constant state of learning, there's different ways you can be learning now. So let's talk about sustainable tourism. There's people publishing content, so organizations and individuals that are publishing on multiple platforms. If you go to google.com/alerts, you can put the keywords of what you're interested in for studying, and you can put the keywords in, and Google will send you an email each time something is published about that. So if you put sustainable tourism marketing, for example, Google, every time content is published on that, they will send you an email. I learned a lot of my social media from creating a Twitter list of the top 100 people in social media. And then I could just open up the list and see real time what the top 100 people in social media are saying about social media, which is what I was learning. Okay, and that's really important. So think about what your industry is and create all of it like that. The next thing is YouTube. YouTube has got so much content. It's the second biggest search engine. You can create watch lists of content and come back to it and organize watch lists under different categories of content that you want to learn, and actually teach it like a learning. So make notes during these videos and everything. But YouTube has so much content on at the moment. There's another website called Feedly, which is a news reader. And basically what that allows you to do is to take the RSS feed. So that's like a feed from other websites, put it into Feedly, and they all feed into Feedly. So you don't have to keep going to multiple websites. You just open up Feedly under categories. Hotels in sustainable tourism, organizations in sustainable tourism, non-profits in sustainable tourism, and you get all of their feeds coming under these headings into your Feedly inbox. And that for me has been honestly another great way I've learned over the last 20 years. The next thing is subscribing to newsletters. A lot of these organizations will supply newsletters of content, and that's a great way to learn as well. And again, as I mentioned before, a lot of these big platforms and the universities offer free courses, free webinars. For example, this is a free webinar. It's great. This is going to go on my podcast as well. So you could even listen to this later as a podcast. And then, of course, you've also got Google search. So if you really want to do a topic, Google search it, read, make notes, and really get into it and study it. Okay. But the main points I'm trying to tell you about this constant state of learning is don't fear this change. Sometimes it can be overwhelming and you get a bit of anxiety that I didn't grow up with this and how do I change? But just set yourself to embrace change and that you keep learning and keep going, that you keep upskilling yourself and learning and just doing it in a natural way. So the last point I want to kind of get to is talking about Zoom calls. So I helped a friend. He's a young guy and he was asking me for help, and I told him a few tips straight away, and then we arranged a meeting, and then he came late for the meeting. He didn't have a notes. He hadn't done the tips that I told him before. He didn't have pen and paper. He was dressed in a tracksuit. All these things, like on Zoom now, be on time, have pen and paper ready, make notes while you talk. Make sure you've got good light. Make sure you've got good sound. Make sure you've got a collared iron shirt on. It depends what job. If you're applying to be a surf instructor, that doesn't really matter. But take time to slow it all down and be on time. Do you know, because I work with Canary Green, we get a lot of volunteers and people that want to come and do internships with us. And how many times people just don't forget to turn up on time. It's a lot of what I'm talking about is common sense. So get your head out of your camera, get the microphone working, get the camera, make sure there's no noise from the people that are there. Make sure you have notes. If you can research the company and the brand before, research them before, have some intelligent questions to ask back to them. Okay. If there's say to them while they're talking, excuse me, let me just make a note of that, and then make a note during the meeting, because it shows that you're attentive. If you need to get back to them with something, make sure you email it straight after the meeting, because brands and people really like people that are switched on. Okay. I hope this has been good for you. The main thing is to get the balance right between work, your personal relationships, your exercise, your me time, and that you're doing work that is greater than yourself. Okay. And I think it's getting this, we all trying to fight to get this balance. We all want to be happy. We all want to feel we're adding value to something. We all want to make money and cover our costs and more, and buy a house and do all these things. So getting this balance right in our life is really important. Now, we've got a few questions coming in. So I just want to start here. We've got the research method you mentioned on Google. Was it Google Scholar? No, but Google Scholar is great as well. But I was talking about Google. Like, let's say you're interested in sustainable tourism in the Canary Islands. Google it, find out who the players are, who the brands are, connect to them, research them, dig into them before you contact them, go round the houses through Instagram, that kind of thing. I hope that answers you, whoever asked that. How can I tell if a company is actually sustainable, or if they are just greenwashing when it comes to job search? Good point, because a lot of brands are jumping onto this greenwashing kind of style. And what I would do is contact some of the employees that are there on Instagram as a friendship, say, hey, I'm thinking of applying for this job. I just wanted to ask, are they really into sustainability? And often you'll find people are honest. They could say, hey, I'm in the program and they're doing so much. The boss really believes in it. This is our future. Or it could be, I don't know anything about this program. They just put it on the website. So reaching out to the individual people, you can see it like that. Okay. But be very careful of people that have subscribed, or brands that have subscribed to these associations that give them a sticker on their homepage. And that's what it is. You want to dig deep into the brand. So everything what I'm talking about today is drilled down into the brand to really see if they are doing it correctly. Okay. I've got another question. Is it easier to get a job post-pandemic? I think it's easier because now we can do more. Like you could have 5 Zoom interviews in one day. And same for the interviewer. They could do a lot more interviews quickly and either advance someone or discount them quicker and more candidates. Okay. And also don't forget this new style we're going into, you can work remotely now. Brands are really accepting that part of the job can be done remotely, or this role can be done remotely. And they're not scared now to say, we're going to contract somebody, we're going to check you out, you're going to work from wherever you are, but we still want you connected with our brand, working like that. Okay, I've got one other question here. Okay, this is quite a good question, which I often get. I want my life to be private, and I don't want all of this stuff on social media. Okay, that's a very good point, because I know a lot of people don't want to put content out there. I know I had a big problem with social media when it first came out, because I just saw it was all about ego. It was about selfies. Even now, if you go to any location in the Canary Islands and you tick Instagram and you tick which is the most popular photos, 90% will be pretty girls in their bikini showing their bum. Hey, look at me. I think we've misused social media. I really think that social media should be about learning and about networking and about doing good and rallying causes for good. And this whole side that's developed of fake news, especially with the pandemic, we can see it, fake people's egos and young people getting so sidetracked in what social media is all about. It should be about the core principles of learning, of networking, of doing better for humanity. Okay, not going down this rabbit hole of egos. I've got one other question here. I'm a bit overwhelmed how to get started, how to get started in all of this. So obviously I've tried to break it down into sectors. The thing is just to get started and just say, I'm going to give myself half an hour each day on my own personal brand, and then do it and give yourself 10 minutes on LinkedIn, 5 minutes on Twitter, 5 minutes. Everyone has to look at themselves and see what they're comfortable with and do it like that. But don't feel overwhelmed. Just start small and just go out. Then watch YouTube videos about how to best prepare my profile on LinkedIn. Go and watch 3 videos like that. So one day could be just allocated towards watching 5 videos about how to best prepare my LinkedIn profile, because those 5 videos will do it better than I will ever do it. Okay, so it's not about me. It's not about any one person. You've got everyone giving you all this content on the search engines. Even from this talk, read about personal branding. This period in our lives now is now being referred to as the Great Resignation. They were saying, especially in the States, I think it's 35% of the workforce is stating they're going to resign or they are resigning now from their jobs. So that's amazing. I think that, I mean, there's a lot of reasons for that, but people are wanting to change. So even if you're wanting to change, but you don't know how to do it, I think just get started. Annette, I don't know if you could just put my email in there on the comments that people can get it. It's john@canarygreen.org. I'm going to prepare a course. I'm going to do 2 courses. I'm going to prepare a course for online, and I'm going to do a practical course with a small group of people. So we're going to choose 10 people, and we're going to do a course over 6 weeks where we see how your brand comes up. We see how you network. We're going to look at each one of you and say, what is the industry you want to work at, and really help you to get to that point of not just getting one job, but preparing your brands through the whole sector. Okay. I think this is the last question we've got. Listen, is associated with sustainability on social media a quality that companies are looking for? It goes back to what I was saying before. I personally think everything is going to become about sustainability. It's like, don't look up, that comet is coming and it's going to hit this planet and we're all going to die. And I honestly think that unless we all wake up, and I'm talking about us individually, as communities, as brands, we all have to rethink how we're packaging our product, how we're employing people, how we're purchasing, what is our diet. I love what Lanzarote is doing at the moment, where they are buying zero kilometer. They're buying all their vegetables from the local farm. They're supporting local businesses. It's really an overall philosophy of everything. So I don't think forget about tourism. anything to do with sustainability now is never going to hurt your brand now. I can't think of any companies or brands that are saying, I want to stay away from sustainability. Almost everyone, everything we're doing now has to head towards this. So if you go and study a short course on sustainability management, and they talk about that, that will never look bad on your CV on LinkedIn.